Rotterdam is wearing black, and Nathanius is wearing blue. If your 2v2 partner hasn't called you back by now, the side chick is you. Welcome back, everybody, to WCS Premier League 2015 Group B, where Jim is about to face off against TLO, two names that we weren't anticipating to be in the losers match. And we did mention beforehand that perhaps they've never played, but they did have one map in 2014, the Acer Team Story Cup, where it did fall TLO's way. Nonetheless, both these players need a lot of help and momentum in order to climb out of this group. It's the first person to be eliminated from Group B today. Who's it going to be? We'll find out with Rotterdam and Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Dan. Well, Nate, you know you are my main chick.
I got you. I got you, Kev. I hope so. There's no other hidden commentators around here. I'm gonna keep my eyes open.
No, there's a reason why this guy wants to live with me as well. That's how insecure he is. He's like, Kevin, I will only cast with you if I can actually live in the same place.
I need someone who can get some of my references, you know?
Yeah, it's
need
okay.
the translator otherwise.
We're getting ready for our third series of the day, which will be played between Kalazur and... no, not Kalazur. Damn it, Nate. What's wrong with me today?
Did you just like program your brain to think he was going to lose the first match?
No, not at all.
Were you that blown away?
No, I was distracted by my wire, actually. That's what it is. But TLO is going to go up against Jim. Like Dan said, they played against each other once in the Acer Team Story Cup. Back then, TLO was able to win. TLO often a player that performs very strong in team tournaments, as he loves to liquid. I feel like he always goes all out in those places. But he has to go all out now as well. He definitely did his research. We were talking to him a little bit early today. He was very relaxed. He was pretty confident about this series as well. He's like, man, I've watched like 20, 25 games of Jim. And it seems like I have a very good idea about what he's going to do. And, well, it's boiled down to the fact that he knows that Jim loves to attack on two bases. And that is not incorrect, Nate.
We've seen some crazy stuff out of these the PvZs, the Chinese players especially. In general, played last year. All of them. Max said, Jim, Haas, just some absolute nut stuff. TLO, though, you know, he's
Haas really pushed it to the next level.
That was... Anybody that didn't see Polar Knight versus Jaedong is basically the beginning of the end.
Jim, on the other hand, like we said, has a couple of major victories over world-class Zerg players like Live, for instance. But in general, he does have a predicting style, and I'm sure that Live is not super familiar with Jim. TLO, on the other hand, who's done weeks of research and studying up this guy, should have a much better idea of what he's going up against. Do you know the map pool for us already, Nate? Because I think that's actually going to be very important.
The process is happening right now.
Ew. All right.
They pretty much just finished. There's one more veto, and we're going to go through the maps. Actually, we're going to start off on Overgrowth, unsurprisingly.
I think that's actually a pretty okay map for TLO. Overgrowth, not really a map where you can do a whole lot of surprising things. It's been a map that we see pretty much every single series, and it's been around for the longest time as well. So Jim will most likely open up with some small pressure here and there, and then follow up with a strong two-base attack. That is like my wild, vague prediction over here. And I think TLO is just going to scout very, very actively, make sure that he can get surprised by absolutely nothing and just take the game from there. I think this is going to be like the most reactive TLO that we've ever seen. And I don't think it's going to be the creative TLO who's going to think like, you know what, this game...
Let's do something that makes no sense this game.
Let's burrow banelings. Well, burrow banelings might actually not be the worst idea out there. Against someone who loves sentry pushes.
Map number 2 will be Expedition Lost, and then the series, if it goes to Game 3, will finish up on Catalina. So some interesting, because I think the second and third map don't lend themselves that third base play as much. No, especially for Protoss.
Yeah, I think the first map is definitely a must-win for Jim. I think if Jim wants to win this series, he has to win on Overgrowth, because I think winning both Expedition Lost and Catalina is going to be very difficult. But we will see. I think especially on Expedition Lost, it's really hard to go up to 3 bases. Then again, Jim has shown us a tendency not to be the biggest fan of 3 bases. But Jim has also shown us today that he switched up his style a little bit. We shouldn't talk all the time about 2013 or 2014 Jim, because this is the 2015 Jim, the Jim that actually researched Storm.
To get Storm against Terran, this could be a whole brand new Jim. Everything that we thought about StarCraft has to change for this match, Rotterdam.
He still has a very distinctive playstyle, though. What is very fun, it's a fun little game for us to play sometimes, is if you're watching a game or if you're watching a replay and you don't have name tags on, try to guess, you know, which player it is. Like, try to see like if you can really figure out who's playing without actually seeing the name. And with Jim, I think he's one of the easiest Protoss players in general to recognize. Today, it's been a little different, like having a few nice touches to his gameplay in general, but it does still very much feel like Jim, and I don't think his PvZ is going to be like you know, let's go 1 gate fast expand and then 3
He's
gate,
not gonna
3 bases.
completely change everything up, go full 90 watt with some void ray pressure and mothership core.
Or just full, you know, Zest range style, like super passive 3 base with observers and blink stalkers and eventually Colossus. Jim has always been, you know, a player that has this mindset like I'm going to do this and this build. And it's not like I'm going to scout what the Zerg is doing and see what I have to get ready for. It's like, no, I'm going to open up with this build.
Dictate the pace of the game.
Yep. We're going to play Jim's series most likely, and TLO has to make sure that all the answers that he has in store or has planned for Jim are the right ones.
That's right. We are now loaded in to game number 1 of our lower bracket match. The loser of this series is eliminated from this season of WCS. In the northeast position, spawning as the blue Zerg player from Team Liquid in Germany, it's TLO.
On the left bottom side of the map, we have our Chinese Protoss player spawning as the red Protoss. It is Jim.
Interesting position for all players in this group right now, as I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Polt to be the favorite over Kelazur, which means that we have the potential for a TLO rematch, which would open the door if Kelazur could repeat to get out of this group, or potential Kelazur versus Jim match. And I think Jim, I'd have to favor him a bit over Kelazur now, especially after how close that series was against Polt.
At the start of the day, I wasn't even sure about that, if I would have put Jim over Kelazur in a straight-up best-of-3. Just
but
because I know,
series,
yeah, because his PvT used to be very shaky in the past, but it looked pretty damn okay against Polt. And I'm also not sure how familiar Kelazur is with playing against that style. I know Minigun used to do it for a while in the North American ladder, but he faded away a long time ago from this Phoenix Colossus. So we will see. Very interesting opening over here by TLO, Nate. He tries to go for a very quick extractor. It's going to open up with speedlings most likely over here.
Definitely throwing out a little bit of an interesting style against Protoss.
So he did have a straight-up plan, which actually surprised me a little bit. Maybe he knows how Jim likes to open. Jim has not scouted yet. Maybe that's something that TLO has picked up in his research.
I feel like we've seen a lot of the Chinese Protosses especially like to open up with these gateways for their expansion. So maybe he's... I mean, I don't know what depth TLO goes into, but he's like, well, he's not going to wall off his ramp. He's going to build his gateway next to his base, and then that's where things get really weird, or try to deny natural at least with the speedling push.
I definitely think... I'm not sure, like this can still play out in so many ways, and it also depends on the commitment level from TLO. He's mined 100 gas now, Nate, and he's still mining gas, which gives me the idea he's going to be speedling into Baneling, like not necessarily to bust, but because he knows that if he's going to open up with speedlings, he will most likely get them into the main base. And then he's like, alright, you use Photon Overcharge once, and after that I'm going to hide a couple of Zerglings, and I'm going to try to wiggle a couple of Banelings into your mineral line. If this game plays out the way that I think it's going to play out right now, SimCity is going to be of extreme importance for Jim. Like, it's going to be the most important thing in the world. I've seen Parting have ridiculous holds. This Nexus that Jim is planting right now, I love the Zerglings over here on the right side.
He runs around so that a probe scout shouldn't be able to see it. And the probe is actually going around to check the third base first. And he's getting Burrow. Oh,
okay, so okay, that's cool. So he only might like the extra gas to research Burrow, and then he's going to stop it.
This
so he's
is
going
unusual,
to
but yeah.
This is really freaking cool, because speedling opening like this, there should be a guaranteed cancel on this Nexus. If he doesn't cancel this Nexus, something went terribly wrong.
He could force a robo for sure then.
Yeah, and the moment he cancels the Nexus, he can have Burrow Baneling, and Jim can't expand until he has detection, and that takes forever. So then TLO should be in a really good position. I really like this for TLO. I think this is brilliant. You know, he's so creative.
Oh. I have to say, this was actually pretty neat.
No, this is creative.
You don't see this every day, boys and girls.
Okay, he needs to make sure he doesn't undercommit though, because he needs a guaranteed cancel on this Nexus. If he doesn't cancel the Nexus, then this is a terrible start for TLO.
Yeah, he can still get a lot done if he actually gets into the main, but I love that he brought some probes to block. Well, they didn't end up doing too much. He gets the surround on these, picking off just 2 so far, and he's actually not able to get into that main base, it looks like.
Yeah, he kills 4 workers, which sounds like, oh man, that's awesome, right? But it's still going to be 2 base against 1 base. He's not going to kill this Nexus, and that is something I'm a little bit worried about, Nate.
He's denying a lot of mining. He's like, well, I guess I want to fight versus probes, but these are right on top of the Mothership Core and the Zealots, which still makes things really, really tricky. Okay. Now he's focusing on a couple of these weakened probes in the natural and gets a few more kills first time. Now he gets into the main with some of them. That's where that Burrow becomes useful.
Yep. Alright, so in the end I think this is still going to play out okay-ish for TLO. I don't think it's as good as it could have been. I think if he would have gone absolutely ham on the Zerglings, it's still a guaranteed cancel on that Nexus.
Yeah, now he's starting to move them around a little bit, getting some of them over towards that main mineral line. Still a few burrowed in the natural, still a few running around the natural, and this gives him a lot of opportunity because he's really forcing some moves out of Jim. You can't open up. You're not going to... If he was planning on doing some gateway attack this game, he absolutely can't. Or at least he's going to have to significantly delay it compared to when he otherwise would.
This is completely different than what we expected. Really expected Jim to be the one to dictate the pace of this series. But so far, it's all TLO with his opening, forcing Jim to play TLO's game. And TLO in general is a master in weird scenarios as well. Finally, he decides to use Photon Overcharge as he's had enough of these Zerglings. There are still 2 Zerglings alive in the main base that were just unburrowed. But yeah, they shouldn't be able to achieve a whole lot other than just being a huge nuisance.
Yeah, I think in this position, with the cannon coming up now, he's getting Roach Warren and a third base. So TLO can now switch gears back into a standard play and get the Roach and keep the Roach Warren at least defensively for a bit. The nicest part about all of this is that the cannons, obviously they can't move. So TLO, as long as he keeps finding a sweet spot to burrow the Ling, he can run around and get a lot of scouting information, even if he doesn't kill anything.
I really like the way you said that, Nate.
Hey man,
I was like,
once upon a time,
Nate is about to blow my mind over here with a sick fact, and I was like, you know, real tight. I was getting tight. I was like, Nate, what's it gonna be? And you're like, the cannons, they cannot move. I was like, damn.
Well,
so happy.
You know, once upon a time, it almost ended up being in the game, Kev. You almost used to be able.
Walking cannons.
Yeah. In the earliest Wings of Liberty alpha videos, man, the phase cannon. I don't know why I know that, but you could. It was almost a thing.
All right. Well, TLO is going to have a great idea of what he's playing against. I still don't think it was the best opening for him, because right now we're 8 minutes and 28 seconds into the game. They were even on Warcast. This is a phase in the game where normally Zerg is, let's say, anything between 5 and 11 workers ahead, 8 minutes into. Normally they even up at like 650 or something if everything is very standard. So I think this is okay-ish for Jim, especially because the layer is, well, he's just starting it right now, which is slightly quicker than I expected it. Of course, the 3 hatcheries right now will allow TLO to squeeze out an insane amount of drones and will take a very healthy worker lead. But it's just a matter of time before Jim starts moving out for the first time. I don't think it would be a smart idea for Jim to wait this one out. It's like, Jim, you have cannons, like start moving out, start forcing out units. Just sitting back is not going to win him this game. If he waits for 2 Immortals now to move out, I don't like that at all. Because then he gives way too much time for TLO, and then TLO's economy will completely stabilize.
Yeah, especially with the lair finishing up, he can have enough time to move into Hydralisks and get Roach speed together, and also get Creep to connect his natural and his third.
Look at the unit count right now of TLO. TLO has 7 units. If he would have just moved out with the sentries, he would have scared TLO, and TLO would be forced to produce units, and then he could always recall or go back. The oldest PvZ logic in the book. Move out to the Zelnaga watchtower so Zerg players are forced to make units,
Scare him.
Yeah, but that would have actually been the right thing to do, because now he just gave so much freedom to TLO. TLO went up to over 50 drones. He does start producing a few roaches now, because otherwise I guess he's afraid that it's going to be too late. But I really think that Jim should have been a little bit more active, especially because you made cannons at home. Like, it's not like if he would move out, he would have nothing at home, but no, he had cannons.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tricky situation, as he did want to make sure he cleaned up those Lings. But now, you said it, Kev, the economy would pay off. Now the Roaches are coming out. He's getting his upgrades. And the Gateways and the second Immortal, yeah, they're getting close to completing. He'll have a powerful army versus Roaches. But TLO has Jim locked down on 2 bases for at least the time being.
Yep, and I guess Jim is going to go with 2 Immortals, which I don't think in general is like... I think 3 is a lot stronger, but if you wait for 3, then TLO's army is truly going to be spiraling out of control. Well, he's going to wait for 3? I mean, he has a lot of force field. I actually think getting Tunneling Claws... he already has Burrow, so I actually think Tunneling Claws is a fantastic upgrade to get right after Roach speed finishes. What do you think, Nick? I really think this would be a great moment. If
it's a good segue from the opener that he did.
If he picks up the Immortals in this push, then it's absolutely game ending. I mean, this is still going to be a strong push. How many gateways are we looking at?
He might get it right after Roach speed, son. I'd really like to see that.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 gates and 3 Immortals. I think is this Immortal locked in? Okay, it's not.
No, he's able to barely squeeze out there. And Jim is moving.
I like the counter attack potential.
Yeah. And keeping these Roaches here ever present. He's like, yeah, kill the Overlord. Wait for the creep to go away. Yeah. Do you have your Observer with you? Do you have your Observer? Because there's still a Ling there.
I think a quicker infestation pit wouldn't have been a bad idea either. TLO getting it right now is also something I don't mind too much. I really love just buying time with the counterattacks. Normally, if Protoss is going to Immortal Sentry all in you, obviously the pushes are a little bit weaker than this massive army of Jim. But you're not able to have this many units already on the other side of the map as Zerg.
I agree. And now Tunneling Claw starts up.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's creative. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, truly a masterpiece.
Something you see in the EPS, Nate.
These German players are really educating us today, huh?
98. I mean, of course, in a straight-up fight right now, Jim's army would absolutely ravage the army of TLO, but it's just Jim has to find his way to the other side of the map.
I like that this hallucinated Phoenix actually spots all these roaches. It's basically telling Jim, do not move out and get caught out of position. Of course, this will give a little bit more time for Enduring Locust to finish and the few swarm hosts that TLO is now producing.
It's very silly. There, Jim does have an observer. Is he going to expand at the gold? Is he realizing that this is just taking too long?
It's like, well, you're getting an observer either way, buddy.
Ring around the Rosie? I mean, there is an observer. It's just all the way on the other side of the map. TLO's playing with fire now as well, because Stunning Claws isn't ready yet. So if he would get force fielded in, this would be devastating. But, you know, he's doing a phenomenal job in buying time for himself. He baits out a time warp as well. A couple force fields. This is where you run, TLO. As fast as you can.
Splits up. Keep in mind, Jim still has not yet been able to start a third Nexus, and he's actually a little bit supply blocked. He can't warp in any forces.
He doesn't do it. I mean, TLO was joking about this earlier today and started with us. He's like, well, I've seen a lot of games of Jim, but the one thing I didn't see is him taking 3 bases against Zerg. And so far, he's not wrong.
Well, against Swarm Host, this army is going to find itself a bit lackluster.
Yeah, the best thing that Jim can ever hope for, as soon as the Swarm Host count reaches up to like 10, is that he force fields it off all the locusts and he takes out one of the bases of TLO. This has been like the funniest little dance over the last 4 or 5 minutes.
That probe wanted to build Nexus.
This is where Jim is like, man, if I had Blink right now, I would have killed all these roaches.
Yeah.
Well, he gets a few here and there.
It's a tough spot to be in. He doesn't even have a Twilight Council. He's got really nothing, outside of the Immortals and Gateways.
Again, he's going to be able to find these 3 pylons as well. Really nice snipe here by Dario. Jim has had enough, and he's like, you know what?
TLO's just hitting him from so many different positions, and he's really just trying to force him to attack into the Swarm Hosts, which is, generally speaking, ends poorly for non-Colossus-based armies.
But with this extremely high sentry count, I still feel that Jim should be able to take out at least 1 base, because, you know, force fields can be good against Locust. Not because you actually kill them, but you just like you zone them out and then you try to find the right engagement to attack. Like, I love how this is going for TLO, but he's not there just yet. He's close, but he isn't there.
And he's got to take
the finish line inside, Nate.
Well, the Roaches are going to try to pull this army away for a little bit. And that burrow move, of course, very difficult to pick these units off, especially, as you said earlier, without Blink. And the Swarm Host, actually comes and picks off a few of these Stalkers and might be able to deny a pylon if he tries.
Yeah, he could have actually gone for the pylon, but he also found a bunch of sentries and Stalkers in the middle of the map. He's going to go for the massive counterattack now because Jim just pulled all of his units and 3 cannons. That may sound awesome, but 3 cannons against this amount of roaches shouldn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, he's got the spine crawlers here to help buy him some time as Jim attempts to push through. All of the probes of the natural expansion have been completely ravaged by TLO. And Jim, he's trying to move through. The force fields are nice, but these foremost are going to continue to push units out. TLO has already evacuated all of the drones from his third base, so he's not going to lose many workers. Like, okay, I'll lose the hatchery, the spines, but you're not going to kill me, and I've killed you.
Well, yeah, the only thing I'm still worried about, though, is that there's still a lot of force field energy over here for Jim. So TLO, like I said, he's not out of the woods just yet. He killed 2 Swarmos over there. That's very nice for Jim. 1 Immortal does go down, and the second Immortal is taking a lot of damage. In general, armies like this are not supposed to break Swarmos. Oh, we got Vipers in the mix as well. That's great. The Hive has just finished up. He lands a Blinding Cloud, which makes it very hard for Jim to actually get a good fight, and Jim is just going to tap out.
GG. TLO taking game number 1 on Overgrowth. A nice win to kick off this series for him, of course. You know, he definitely came into this group as a favorite over Kelazir, but that's got to be one of those things. You know, TLO is not the kind of guy to let that really get to him. He's a very good experience. I think that's where experience really comes into play, because someone like Kelazir, when you lose that first series, things can spiral out of control. But we can see TLO really took advantage of forcing Jim to attack him with this army being out of position, and he didn't want to use the recall because he knew he didn't have anything to go home back to, so he grabs all the probes and says, yeah, you can't even really warp too much more in. This is it. All I have to do is stop this push, and I win the game.
And did a really good job in repositioning his Swarmos as well, and I love how TLO was willing to sacrifice this base. Like you said as well, he killed all the probes in the natural. There were no extra bases for Jim. Jim didn't really have a follow-up. It was now or never. So for TLO, there was absolutely no immediate urgent to, like, all right, I have to keep this base alive, otherwise I'm in trouble. It's like, no, you're doing way more damage on the other side of the map. All you have to do is make sure that your Swarmos do what they're supposed to do. And at this point, you know, it's still like, if the force fields keep being very good, because he's getting very close to the natural, and that's where things get very dicey as Zerg. But that one Blinding Cloud is like, ow.
Yeah, you stop so much of the army from fighting, and then they take so many free hits from the Zerg army that it's a pretty difficult position to work out of. And this map, like seeing these guys play on it, these are the kind of players that when you see a map like Expedition Lost, you start to think about, you know, how crazy these players' styles can work when you have these rocks in the back of your base. I'm sure Jim's got some builds that he's probably prepared for this map. At least he uses on ladder. They're a little crazy. TLO, no doubt, has some things he could do. Of course, we could still see a standard game, but the third base makes me lean a bit more towards another crazy game like the last one.
I mean, the last one was definitely wild. Opening up with Speedlings and Burrow like that, not something we see super often. But it worked out fantastically for TLO. I think if he would have gone all out and produced nothing but Zerglings for the first, 2.5, 3 rotations, I definitely think he can get a Nexus kill, because it's one gateway production, and these Zerglings, they're very intimidating. And if somebody pulls probes all the way to the low ground, then I guess it's okay to start fighting the probes.
Yeah.
But, in the end, it still worked out okay for him. I think Jim's biggest mistake by far is just giving all the time in the world to TLO. Like, TLO's economy is obviously hurting as well from opening up with Speed and Burrow. His natural is very late, and his third base is even later. But then Jim just sat back and waited until like the 11-minute and 30-second marks until he moved out with 3 Immortals and 8 gateways, and I just think that was the biggest misplay. He should have gone for
an earlier pressure to keep TLO from just building a bunch of drones.
Yep, just force out a bunch of Zerglings earlier or the Roaches earlier and make sure that TLO's economy stays weak. And then when he moves out, then the counterattack potential is going to be a lot weaker for TLO as well. So I think that's where Jim went wrong. But it was still a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, pretty cool. Not a setup that you see every day, and that's what you get when you have players like this going up against each other for the first time in the northeast position. The red Protoss player needs to win 2 maps in a row to keep his WCS run alive. It's Jim. And his opponent in the southwest position, 1 map win away from going up to a potential rematch. He is Liquid's TLO.
We already see something different, Nate. We see the first pylon going down on the low ground, which means that Jim could go for a Nexus first. But what I think is a little more likely is that he's going to drop a Forge on 13 supply and then send out a probe and maybe another probe across the map. Also something that Dario mentioned earlier today. He's very well aware of the cannon rush capabilities of Jim. Jim has even showed us some really ridiculous cannon rushes in the past. It's like Nexus first into cannon rush on that wing. It's like I didn't even know this was a thing, but then we learned.
I'd ask you, but I know you're not too much. You're not too dirty of a Protoss. You don't cannon rush too much, Kev.
I am extremely dirty, just not in the cannon department.
Yeah, you like your
But
gateways.
in the other departments, Nate, no
filthy.
stopping me.
Yeah. Well, TLO will open up with a pool first. He's not taking any chances.
Which I think makes a lot of sense. Then again, we've also seen in the past, this doesn't stop.
Haven't we seen Jim cannon rush pool first anyway?
And then we said, this is not supposed to be a thing. Is it a thing? It's not a thing. And then he made it work, and we looked really silly.
It's like, well, I guess it's a thing. It's crazy. I guess, yeah. He's just like pylon block.
But I mean, like, this is not
this
really...
Is this would actually be like the worst map to try to contain at the bottom of the ramp, because then they could just break down the rocks.
Yeah, it takes a while, though, with just Zerglings. There's not a whole lot of surface area. But I wonder what he's going to... I don't think he's going to actually cannon rush this. That would just be bizarre. No, he's going to cancel it.
Be crazy.
This is going to renew this pylon over and over again, I think.
Yeah, just try to force, just keep canceling it. And he does start another pylon back home. He has his Nexus on the way. TLO just takes his 3rd base first. So TLO is basically just going straight for 3 bases this game.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. The Overlord has spotted on the other side of the map as well that there is a Nexus going up and that there was a Forge. So Dario right now thinks to himself, and that is why I opened up with a spawning pool. Because I didn't want to have to worry about cannons going up in my natural.
It's not a fun way to lose, Kev. Not a fun way to lose at all. I mean, it's like I don't know if you like have been trying to practice some Zerg lately, man, and that is...
Yeah, I know, it's frustrating. It's like, I know how to deal with this on Protoss, and it's like...
Well, then you realize on ladder, people also don't just like put one really well-placed cannon and deny it. They'll build like 6, and it's like, how do I get out of my base?
I know, it's like the contain into the next contain. It's like...
They build a Nexus there, they build their gateways, like, leave me alone.
Then it's like, damn, I'm ashamed that this race is my main race. But then I play Protoss again, I'm really proud of it. It's just when I switch to the dark side temporarily, Nate. Anyway, the gateway is going to finish up. Curious to see where Jim is going to take this. Expedition Lost is definitely not one of the largest map in the current map pool, so certain 2-base timings can hit very hard. But this has not been the opening that he had in mind, so I really wonder. It could be another Immortal Sentry all-in. This time, of course, it's going to play out completely differently because of the way that this game has started off. Much more normal than we had on Overgrowth.
Yeah, I imagine a little bit of a smoother beginning. You know, the pylon block didn't really have too much of an effect on this, and taking this 3rd base, the distance it's there, but maybe TLO just get a bit of a quicker creep tumor down to help cover that distance in case there's any type of gateway pressure at that third base. But Warp Gate's only just started. It's quite a ways off from any serious aggression coming out of Jim.
Yeah, he's not really showing us a whole lot yet. The sentry is on the way, but in the main base we have absolutely nothing other than one pylon near the rocks. Just want to make sure he's not being surprised. Didn't take any extra additional gases. We see gas number 3 going down now. It could be a Stargate opening, but that's not something I see very often of Jim in this matchup. It could just be another Immortal Sentry again, which I would be a little bit disappointed by if that's the case. He's researching +1 now.
Now, TLO actually want to double check this, make sure if his Zergling saw that upgrade researching. I don't think he did.
Maybe he didn't see the upgrade yet. His Overlord does spot one of the assimilators going down in the natural. Now, as a Zerg player, this does not always 100% mean that this is a macro build. Sometimes Protosses are that dirty that they will pull their probes from the main and just put it in the natural. And it's like, hey, no worries, man. It's going to be a macro game. And then suddenly there are 7 gateways somewhere tucked away in the main. And you're like, what? I thought you were taking gas. And it's like, haha, it was all fake. But Darius checks. He's like, man, I still haven't seen anything. Well, we do see a bunch of gateways going down, Nate. What is this? He doesn't have a pro. I think this almost looks like he just wants to go up to 3 bases. Now he drops the Twilight. This might just be a defensive 3-base setup.
+2 blink. Pretty cool to see out of Jim. It's not the style that I think of when I think about Jim, but I can dig it.
Yeah, he's been showing us some different things. He definitely needs to, you know, if there's anything that he has definitely improved upon, or that he wants to show us today, this is definitely the moment. If he loses this game, this will be the end of Jim's run in WCS Premier League Season 1. After making it through the Chinese qualifier and making it through the Challenger match as well, where he went up against Tutming, a very strong Zerg player from China. And this is indeed it, mate. It's just defensive 3-base setup.
Yeah, TLO spots the third base on the way. His Overlord went to check the main, and he did not see the Twilight Council, just saw a few of the gateways getting close to finishing up, but I think TLO kind of has a rough idea of what he's going up against. The question is, what is he going to do about it?
Well, he starts producing roaches immediately. Perhaps he's still a little bit worried as well. He's on 60 drones right now. That is a pretty okay-ish amount, of course, to start making some units. It's not going to really slow your economy down anymore, and it's also the type of units that if your opponent would suddenly cancel that Nexus and then still attack you, you at least have a few units to work with already, buy time until more units spawn. What TLO can also do is just go absolutely ham on roaches and links, something we see live do in pretty much every single game. Protoss players try to go up to 3 bases very quickly against him, and I think it's very difficult to deal with, especially on a map like Expedition Lost, where the Zerg player can also take down the rocks, and then suddenly as a Protoss player, your units just start running all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before your sentries will be caught out of position.
I've thought about how difficult that is on 2 bases, but when you have the third as well, you have to go so far. And you're also exposing yourself on that low ground between the third and the natural.
TLO, after making a bunch of roaches, he's going to go all the way up to 16, 17 roaches, but no Zerglings. And now he's going to go back to drones, and he's going to follow this up with the infestation pit. So this is not all-out aggression from TLO. This is not, you know, make it or break it. I have to kill that base. This is just, I'm going to try to make something happen with these roaches, and if it doesn't, well, I have Swarmos to fall back on, so I should be okay.
Yeah. +2, Blink coming in. He's got a robotics facility on the way, and he is still building probes, but no gases yet taken on that third base. I imagine they'll come soon enough. Infestation pit, close to finishing, +1 attack for TLO, and at this point,
Still making some roaches.
It's important for Jim, of course, to be very aware of what's going on. He has a sentry here with some stalkers, but if these roaches like got up the ramp, then get ugly.
You definitely have to pay close attention. But so far, I really like Jim's setup, man. This is looking solid.
Yeah, TLO's got a. It looks like he's trying to hit this third base now. He's like, maybe he thinks he's pulled the army over, but there's still all the sentries over at the third.
And there is the cannon, and there is photon overcharge. So I actually think with force fields over here, he should be more than fine. Ooh, those 2 force fields on the left side, they miss. I think he would have loved to trap those units. Don't go too far out with your sentries.
You don't want those sentries to be completely exposed.
Nope.
Yeah, nice force field actually holds most of them away. He keeps them off on the left side and the right.
He loses a few units here and there, but of course TLO is going to lose a lot of sentries. He has to be careful though. It's just a matter of time before he starts having his first Immortals. This is that moment that's really tricky, when you're actually, your natural becomes exposed.
He might cancel the +2. Yeah, that army has to run down on the low ground, and the Stalkers actually come out of the main as well, kind of pinching these roaches.
This is a very awkward fight. It's very difficult to micro as well as a Protoss, because your units are split up on 2 sides of the Zerg army. But Blink has finished up, so Jim handled that reasonably well.
Yeah, he had a couple of Stalkers that could have very easily died during that engagement. Picks off a few more roaches on the way out.
The only big loss there was definitely the forts. Jim's macro is slipping a little bit during all this, but oh man, the Immortal popped on the wrong side.
Yeah, he had to kill his own pylon in order to escape.
I think that TLO was relatively satisfied with that. Obviously hoped for more, but it wasn't all bad. The thing that Jim could have definitely done better on is spend his money. If he would have a second robotic, oh, look at that, he's adding 7 more gateways. He's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, Jim seems to like his gateway units a lot. But
4,
he did get
5,
Blink.
6, 7.
It's really unfortunate that he didn't get the +2 because it would have made it so much easier to chew through the roaches for the stalkers. But I guess at this point he should be more concerned with the swarm hosts.
He's gonna go up to 14 gateways, 15 gateways. He's gonna have ridiculous stalker production. But he needs to make sure he doesn't die over here. He needs to drop a force field on the right side, and that's exactly what he does. Access denied so far for TLO. Man, if TLO doesn't start producing Swarmos soon, like if all these gates... Oh, he has Swarmos.
Yeah, man, he's got some out here. He's ready. He's postured right outside. And I think this is actually a beautiful way to use them, that he can just rotate between the 2 bases. Doesn't be careful with these rocks. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, this is bad for Jim. Jim needs to make sure that he starts having a way to be aggressive. Look at that forge. The forge is just being rebuilt and gets picked off again immediately.
Really smart. The swarm hosts zone away the main army while the roaches run into the natural expansion. And Jim's army, he can actually sandwich it with the roaches and the swarm hosts now as he continues to move up. He's trying to run away. Soccer gets picked off. Sentry with a lot of energy. The roach is still in the natural, cleaning up a good amount of probes too.
Yeah, actually a lot of economic damage is being dealt over here, 17, 18, and there's still absolutely no answer to these swarmers. Look at the swarmers on the left side. These are like the most aggressive swarmers ever.
They are in your base.
Yes, and if he kills the robo, that is going to be devastating. I really love the way the TLO is doing this.
Yeah, because there's not an observer out on the map.
Yeah, there's not a single observer. There's not a single pilot on the map. Jim has absolutely no answer to these swarmers right now.
And just gateway units
oh my God, he lost
a really
the Nexus.
tough time. 3rd base picked off.
Man, TLO's all over this game so far. A much, much better TLO than we saw in the first series of the day.
The main base unpowers a couple of gateways, and he's going to continue to force these warp ins here while the swarm hosts move in on the left.
Yeah, I mean, this is expedition loss for you. You're just going to start around. And Jim knows it as well. GG is called. TLO takes the series very convincingly. I really think this also shows that TLO, we can see that he's done his homework. He knew what kind of style he wanted to play against Jim. And both games, I felt like it was all TLO.
Yeah, TLO seemed very comfortable all the way throughout the series, showing us a little bit of the creative styling in game number 1, and then in game 2 just playing very straight up. And using that multitasking. We talked about it with the distance between the main and the 3rd. He had him worried about the army spot, and then the swarm host zoning out the sentries and stalkers so that the roaches could snipe all the natural probes. This is such a beautiful maneuver because oftentimes you can't attack directly, but you just force that army to move somewhere where it's much more exposed, and that's where TLO gets his edge here.
And even when Jim handled the initial pressure relatively well, he was so occupied making sure that the sentries were never too exposed and make sure that he was covered everywhere that he forgot to macro, and he suddenly had way too much money. And even right here, you can see that he has a bit too much money. After he warps in 4 or 5 stalkers, still has 1100 minerals. Jim was just not able to keep up with the style that TLO was throwing at him.
When you're banking that many resources with 15 gateways, you've had it's been a little rough.
I mean, having 15 gateways at the 15-minute mark is already a kind of sign that something went wrong.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, and that you're just trying to spend your money. Yeah, I loved everything about how TLO approached this series. Definitely surprising to see Jim, one of the more successful foreign Protosses in 2014, to go out like this in WCS. Put up a good fight against Bolt, but in the end, he still goes out WCS Premier Season 1 without winning a single best of 3. And after the success he's had in the past in WCS America and even at IEM Shenzhen, I think that is we can call that a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit though where credit's due. Tough group, Polt, kind of the guy that's a lot of people are actually predicting could go all the way to take the championship for the first season, and then TLO, I don't think anyone's surprised that he beats Jim, but Jim, I think, you look at it and he certainly had a fair chance.
Yeah, it's like it could go either way. It just depends on who plays better, but in that last series, TLO was definitely the better player. Played awesome, we loved it, and let's see if Dan the man on the couch loved it as well.
Thank you so much, Nathanius and Rotterdam. What a great series to see TLO be able to rebound. And unfortunately for Jim fans, it seems like he's going to have to wait till perhaps next season in order to climb back. I'm joined on the couch currently by a super fan, goes by the name Nice Username. Some people might recognize him from Reddit or Twitter, social media. He also goes by Joe in real life, but no, we're nerds here, so we can go by our username and handles. You can call me Frodan.
That's right.
So, Joe, how'd you like that series? I know you said you were pulling for TLO. I think that was a big relief.
I mean, I'm always pulling for TLO, but he's got the Swarmo style really good. He was always really good with them. I don't know. A lot of people are really good, but he stands out. I'm really stoked on the new Swarmo stuff too. that's coming out.
Yeah, that's right. You were mentioning how you know, you were very happy about some of the directions that were being taken. Can you just talk to me, like, you know, as a person who's followed StarCraft for so long, you're super passionate, you have a lot of favorite players, you follow all the teams. Talk to me, like, what really makes StarCraft II entertaining for you, and how the direction of the game is changing to fit that?
There's a lot of things. I've been interested in SC for forever, dude. Like over 10 years. Brood War, SE2, all the mods, but
Even Starbow?
Starbow is cool, man. All that stuff is really cool. Seriously, the map editor is amazing, and just to see everything take shape, like all the expansion stuff is coming out, is super exciting. Every piece of news about SE2 gets me excited. So I don't know, man. It's difficult to really say.
Yeah, it's definitely a handful, but you know, more importantly, it seems like StarCraft II is still coming out in a great direction. You know, WCS Premier League this season has players from all over the world. That's got to be really exciting too, to see them combined as well, right? So you don't have to stay up till, you know, like really late hours to just watch all three regions.
My sleeping is so backwards, but you know, it's worth it totally.
Gotcha, cool. Well, is there anything that you'd like to say to the community? Because I know you represent a lot of the voices.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to people who, like some of the stuff I put out, I got people who are fans of me sometimes. So that's cool. Thanks to all those people. And thanks to everyone who like participates. I think we need more participation. There's so many people who lurk and just read stuff. Like, it doesn't take much to sign up, post, say what's up. The community is one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite. So
absolutely, like, nice username. He's creating videos all the time. He's like making these posts. He's, you know, definitely partaking in the community. Yeah, I think it's a great representation of, you know, how you can engage as well. So definitely let us know. And one way you can do that is to join us on the conversation in social media by hashtagging WCS. And while you're there, also thank Gigabyte and BenQ for this awesome production so far. We've been having a blast, but we have another match coming to you. It's the winners to find out who is going to be advancing from Group B. So stay tuned, guys. More StarCraft II action is coming up right after this.